Hello, this is Broyar, and welcome to my first impressions video for Civilization 7, or specifically the gameplay trailer that they showed off today. I have already seen this, sort of. I was working today, so I had to kind of watch it in the background while I worked. But so this is going to be my first time to actually kind of really sit down, pause it, look at things, and talk through things and whatnot. So without further ado, let's get right into this.
Throughout our history, ordinary...
I'm going to be honest. Yes, the narrator is always very cool. We've had quite a few cool narrators over the years. If you would ask me the feature that I was most curious, narrator would not have been on the list at all. It's cool, but it's not like something I'm like sitting there asking it about. But that being said, credit where credit's due. This particular narrator, I do like her voice, and so it's going to be cool to have her as the narrator.
ordinary people have done extraordinary things, illuminating our potential. They inspired movements, created the impossible, and destroyed the indestructible.
Wow, this gameplay is
Ordinary people
really good.
chose to change the world, chose to dream, to build, to hope, to always hope. And if there's hope for one of us, there's hope for us all. Now it's your turn to reimagine civilization and build something you believe in.
Very cool. And it will be out on Xbox, Switch, PS4, as well as PC, of course. I mean, I'll be playing it on PC personally, but it's cool to see that it's going to be out on all those platforms.
Hello, Civ fans. On behalf of all of us here at Firaxis Games, we'd like to welcome you to a first look at the next chapter in our Civilization franchise, Civilization 7. You know, looking back 30 years ago, Civilization was created during a time when we were still learning what games could really be. We were searching for that next big challenge to take on, which led us to thinking, what could be greater than putting the entire history of the world into a video game?
Sorry to interrupt you, Sid Meier. That's sacrilegious, but I will say it would probably be a dream of mine to go visit the Firaxis studio someday. I know that there were some creators that did get invited to go on site and were able to see this, which is really, really cool. That would be where I know, like, I've accomplished something with my YouTube channel, is that I was able to go on site for a game like Civilization. That would be amazing. But yeah, no, it's very cool. I think this is beautiful, and I love seeing kind of the story here.
And make it fun. 3 decades later, it's because of your passion, your love for Civ, that we're still here today. In every game of Civ, you've gone on a journey to build an empire to stand the test of time. And now the journey continues. Prepare to take just one more turn on February 11th, 2025.
Nice.
When we launch Civilization 7 across PC and console.
Hey, honey, what are you doing for Valentine's Day?
First time in franchise history.
Yeah, here's the thing.
This is by far the biggest, the most ambitious game we've ever made at Firaxis. It represents a significant gameplay evolution for the Civ franchise, and it's a game we plan to support for many years.
It does look
to come.
nice.
Today, you'll learn about the vision for the game, the driving force that inspired our biggest new feature. You'll see your Civ world brought to life like never before, and you'll discover why Civilization 7 promises to be a revolutionary new chapter in this franchise that we all love so dearly. Please enjoy.
Very cool.
Civilization is the foundation of Firaxis. Whether you've been playing since the MS-DOS days or have joined us more recently, we're so grateful for your continued passion and support. When you walk around our studio, you can feel the energy and excitement. You can see how inspired our people are to come in and build the next Civ game.
Civilization is the ultimate historical strategy game. Your goal in Civ is to build an empire to stand the test of time. You select a civilization, led by a famous historical leader, and guide your Civ's journey across the entire
that looks really good
of human history.
Graphics
You
look
shape your empire
really nice.
piece by piece, from what technologies you want to research to what civics you want your society to uphold. And you compete with others on the world stage, engaging in diplomacy, negotiating alliances,
Benjamin Franklin?
and sometimes going to war.
In every Civilization game, your empire has always been represented by a single civilization. You play through the entire span of history as that one civilization. This time around, we want to take you on a new journey.
For the first time ever, in Civilization 7, the story of your empire isn't just that of a single Civ.
Yeah, so first, I mean, they're not holding any punches here, are they? They're coming right out with the big changes right away. I think there's a video somewhere on my YouTube channel of me talking about what I was hoping for Civilization 7, or maybe somehow I got talking about humankind, and one of the things I mentioned in that was one of my least favorite aspects of humankind was the fact that you were not locked into a single civilization. I thought that was where Civilization 6 and 5 and all the other ones had it made. You cared about your civilization. You felt like you tied to the civilization, and humankind missed the mark on that. What's the other one? The other one that just came out from Paradox, or whatever it was, that where the civilization in that one doesn't even matter. Millennia. It doesn't even matter. Like the civilization is just like a text. It's not. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a color, you know. And so, look, if anybody can get this type of gameplay correct, it is the guys that make Civilization. I'm cautiously, like, I'm trying to be optimistic here, but when you take the thing that I least like about humankind and you put it into the next Civilization game, I'm worried. I'm not gonna lie, I'm worried. But if anybody can do it, Civilization can. And I guess that's what I'll say about that for right now. I don't want to say anything else until we kind of really know more and really get into playing it. But for now, I'm a little nervous. Let's put it that way.
But several connected together through time. At the dawn of each new age of human advancement, you'll select a new Civ to represent your empire. You'll build on and carry forward your previous achievements while unlocking new gameplay bonuses to reinforce or pivot your strategy. And by the end, you'll have forged a unique path through history. To show you what we mean,
I mean, look, I get it. It is a bit more realistic, right? How many civilizations or how many nations today were the same nation, you know, in that same location 1,000 years ago, 100 years ago, whatever, you know? Nations change over time. I get it. This concept is very much historically accurate, right? You know, I mean, Egypt is probably about and there's not very many besides like Egypt and some of those countries. Like, obviously Egypt as it exists today is not the same Egypt from, you know, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, or whatever. But, you know, it is there, right? We still see it as there. Germany, you know, it didn't used to be Germany, right? Italy used to be Rome. So now that's completely different, right? I mean, Greece still exists in name, but the ancient Greeks were, you know, I would say completely different. They were obviously much larger. It's, so this idea of changing kind of who your nation is over time is, like I said, there's some historical accuracy there, but Civilization's never really been about historical accuracy. It's been about identity and being identified to not just you being identified to a nation, but your neighbors being identified to a nation. Like, if I'm mad at, you know, I don't know, Genghis Khan and the Mongols because they've been tearing up my, you know, attacking me or whatever, well then I want to eventually get revenge on them someday. And yeah, it might take me 1,000 years to build up enough military might and technology to go ahead and beat them up. But if they're suddenly like, I don't know, they went from the Mongols to, you know, Brazil. I'm like, I don't, what am I mad at Brazil? You know, I don't know. So identity is going to be very important to hold on to. I mean, you can almost think of Civilization. This is a very loose analogy, but it's like a role-playing game. I have a character in a role-playing game, and over time, I build up, you know, new abilities, you know, from experience and through exploration and through doing things. And in Civilization, I start with a very fledgling nation, and over time, I get more research and more culture and more, you know, some of the civics and new governments, and I'm basically building this nation into something. And to suddenly have to go, oh, cool, I'm suddenly becoming into my own as, you know, Egypt or something like that. Oh, now I've got to go pick a different nation. I don't know. Like I said, I'm speaking a lot about this because it's a very big, it is probably the big feature here of Civilization 7. But I have concerns, but like I said, I'll stick to the idea that if anybody can do it right, Civ can, and we'll see what they do.
Let's take you through the story of one such empire.
It is the dawn of a new age. The age of antiquity.
The map is very cool. I like that.
Where humanity begins to take its first
I love the
steps
rocks and
into
stuff.
The annals of history.
Very cool.
The great pharaoh, Hatshepsut.
Okay. Let me go back for a second.
The great pharaoh.
Let's look at what we got here. And before I jump into this, I love the fact, at least from what I could tell, like the trees are different in different parts of the world, and you know, kind of maybe the animals look a little bit different, or what are some of the cosmetic effects just give you a little bit more immersion. I love that. That's really cool. All right, so we got Egypt. It's cultural, economic. I don't know what that means, but probably that's something. Maybe they're just as a general theme for the nation of Egypt, they become a little bit more culture, a little bit more economic, whereas maybe others are a little more warfare, something like that. Something about historical choice. I don't know what that means. Gifts of Osiris, +1 production on navigable rivers. Okay, spoiler alert, we're going to get to that in a minute. Rivers can be navigated, at least parts of them. I don't know if once you get really narrowed, maybe they can't anymore, but the wider parts that we saw on the map can be. In fact, let me back up a little bit. We can show that these parts of the river apparently can be navigated. Again, up here it looks like it gets a little thinner, and so maybe there is a part where it cuts off, but some of that does come into play. So that's something. So +1 production on navigable rivers. Plus 30% production towards constructing the pyramids. Interesting. That's very specific. Like, I don't know I don't know if they talk about wonders in this game or or in this video, I should say, but plus 30% production to the pyramids specifically leads me to believe that wonders are going to be fewer and further between, but also maybe more grandiose. Because I feel like just one wonder having a little bit extra production is not that big of a bonus, right? But if that one wonder is like one of just a handful of wonders that happened in that era, then maybe that is becoming a bigger thing. Unique units and buildings, the Medjay infantry replacement with no maintenance. Okay. +3 combat strength in friendly territory. Doubled when stationed in a settlement you own. Okay. I mean, obviously, +3 combat strength. If it's relatively similar to Civ 6, then, you know, +3 is something. It does add up. Mastaba here, +3 culture. Gold adjacency for desert terrain and wonders. So wonders plural. There are going to be more wonders. Interesting. Egyptian unique culture building. Ageless. Okay, so that's going to be something. I heard Quill 18. I did watch Quill 18's recap of this. I haven't watched his videos. He's put a bunch of videos up on his YouTube channel, so I have not watched those. I will watch those later. But he got to go on site and actually play this game, and so he does have a little bit more detail about some of these things. Apparently, ageless buildings are buildings that, as you progress through these eras, they persist. They're okay. But the ones that are not ageless, I think they either just go away or they become diminished, and you need to replace them with like a better building, something like that. Don't quote me on that. It's something like that. And then we got the Mortuary Temple, +4 gold, happiness adjacency for navigable rivers, and wonders. Again, wonders plural. So wonders seems to be a big part of Egypt, which is why I'm kind of curious about the whole, you only get a production bonus for the pyramids exclusively. And then, so they do have two unique buildings. One of them is culture building. One of them is a gold building, which goes back to the top there, cultural and economic. All right. Sorry. Hopefully you guys are okay with me pausing this. This is going to be a very long video, by the way. I think I mentioned that at the very beginning. But this video alone is 25 minutes. And by you had me talking, this might be an hour-long video.
Pharaoh Hatshepsut leads the civilization of ancient Egypt. Among the arid desert lands and a winding river.
What is that? Is that going to be like the new version of like a goodie hut or something? Looks like little fires, maybe some sort of little village. Interesting.
The seeds of our people are rooted in sand and water.
Sand and water.
To discover what treasures and dangers lie beyond.
Fog of War is very cool.
A brave scout begins to survey and map the surrounding lands.
By the way, guys, feel free to comment below the things that I missed. I'm trying to like pause the video on things that I think that are cool and new and whatever. I'm sure I'm missing plenty of things. There's a lot to see here. And obviously as time progresses, we'll learn more and more about some of the things that I just didn't see what that was right away. So if you guys see something that I missed, feel free to comment below. I'll read them and we can kind of talk about them later, but very cool. So we got the granary. The granary is also ageless, gives you +1 food. Okay.
Our population grows. A new granary is built to store food for hungry mouths.
All right, I need to pause here. Now, I'm gonna throw in a few things. Like I said, I learned from Quill 18 from him talking about his experience, and so forgive me if I don't know. I don't think they get into some of this too much. But here we have the granary, and unlike in current Civ 6, where the granary is stored inside your city center, it's one of the city center buildings. Then you have districts outside. In Civ 7, the granary is going to become a kind of a district of its own, right? It's going to be like an urban district, I think is what it's called. And my understanding is that urban districts each have 2 slots for buildings. So once they put this granary down, that's one of the 2 slots for buildings there, and they can put another building there later. But once they put those 2 buildings down, there are no buildings that can go in that particular spot. So it's kind of like a cross between, it's kind of like a partial like district like we see today in Civ 6, but a little bit of a nuance, a little bit of difference. And the districts are not tied to a specific type. I mean, there might be a bonus for building the same type of buildings in one. I don't know if that's explained here or not, or I'm just speculating. But I suppose you could put a granary there, and you could put maybe you could put a university there in the same district. That might be something that's possible. I honestly don't know, but it seems like it's going to be a little bit less strict like the current districts are today.
Its location decided, a new district is formed.
Yeah.
And construction begins. With more food available, our people look to make improvements to the land.
All right. So, I mean, first off, I do like the fact that the city does visually grow. I think that is a very cool feature here. Improvements. I happen to know, again, apologies if I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I just want to explain it as I'm seeing it. There are no workers, builders, or anything like that in Civ 7. I like workers. I like builders. I like them both. I like the workers of old, where you created a handful of them and they'd go around and it'd take 5 turns to build something. I also like the transition to, builders with charges. I thought both were good, in theory. And obviously builders with charges was a big thing of Civ 6. And the fact that they're both going away is interesting, but we still have the concept and the idea of improvements. Now, this, my understanding from looking at this picture and from what I heard from Quill, and I apologize if I just keep quoting him, but he's just somebody I've watched and somebody I admire a lot. So he's the reason I'm doing YouTube. So I'm going to be talking about him a lot. Just bear with me. Is that the improvements are basically locked in. Like you see chickens here. You see Rodinia, flat desert. What is this? Dates. Okay, it says dates down here. Barely see it. It might not show up on the screen. You have to zoom in really close. There's dates here, which appear to be maybe a luxury resource because they give you happiness as well as food. And then we've got 3 fish barrels of some sort. Those are the only those are improvements. Those are the only improvements you can put on these slots. There are no options to change to a different type of improvement. The way I heard the story told is that I think Quill actually asked Ed Beach or somebody from Civ Firaxis about this. And the response he got back was, how often do you actually have a decision between 2 different things on a single tile? I mean, if you think about it, hill tiles, yeah, can you put a farm on a hill tile? Sure. But more often than not, you're putting mines on hill tiles. I mean, definitely when it comes to resources guaranteed to be a single type of improvement, a plantation, you know, or a mine or a quarry or something like that. Flat land, you know, fertile land, you might be putting a bunch of farm tiles down, you know, things like that. There really is very minimal choice, obviously. I mean, I guess some of the choices are, do you chop down the forest or do you put a lumber mill? But between those two choices, that's it. Chop down the forest, I mean, obviously put something underneath it, or put a lumber mill. There's no other option besides a lumber mill on a lumber mill tile, I guess, unless you're Brazil, right? Doesn't Brazil have like a unique thing? But anyway, we're not gonna, that's unique to the civilization, obviously. So the idea that tiles are just, you know, this is a chicken tile. This is a, well, this one just happens to have a resource on it, I think. So I think this one's just a date tile, and these are all fish tiles. I think that's okay. I don't think that's too big of a diversion from what we have today. It sounded a little bit off at first when I thought about it, you know, because I'm like, oh man, no builders, no workers. That's a different change. But at the end of the day, this takes away a lot of the micromanagement of workers and builders alike, and just makes the city just improve what it needs to improve. And, you know, as the city grows, that's how you get these. You get a new population. That's when you get to put a new improvement down. And the only reason you need an improvement is because you got a new population. Like, go look at Civ 6. There's no reason to improve all of your tiles within your radius if you've only got 3 population in your city. So I do think this is probably a trend. It's different. It's new. I'm not unhappy about this. I think this is something I can get used to, and I can probably enjoy this idea that as my population grows, that's when I specialize a tile with, you know, an improvement, and that's when they start working that tile. So I think this is a good change. I think I'll ultimately, long term, I'll like this change.
An ancient fruit ripe for cultivating is spotted. Dates will provide more sustenance for our citizens.
Oh, we can actually see the dates on the trees. Okay, I wasn't sure. I didn't see them at first. Obviously, they don't seem to have yield icons or anything like that turned on right now. So for me personally, I just thought these were trees right at first. But now that I see them, I guess truth be told, I don't know what a date tree looks like. So I guess that's a date tree. Presumably, there is a way to turn on icons so you can actually see these on the map.
This will make the people happy. A plantation is constructed to harvest this valuable resource.
Very cool. Oh, and just real quick, and I know I keep pausing. I apologize. Maybe I shouldn't apologize. I'm going to stop apologizing for pausing it. There's going to be a lot of pauses. Let's just deal with it. Sorry. The verticality and the kind of depth of the city right here is very cool. I mean, this city feels like it's like on a little edge of a hill, kind of a little bit cliff. There's like and then you got the plantation down below. I mean, there's just something more, I don't know, more immersive about this, and I really like this so far. This is really cool.
Our city continues to grow as more urban and rural developments spring forth.
Got some mines over here, it looks like, some fishing boats. Anything else we see that we want to talk about? Like I said, I already talked about the mines we saw. I don't know what all these are. I mean, there's some sort of farm here, maybe. I don't know if it's a specialized farm or it's just a basic farm. I don't know what that is. Were there trees there before? Is that like a lumber mill type of thing? Or is there, I don't know. But obviously, just lots of cool different improvements and stuff. We do have some available technologies. We got currency, masonry, irrigation, and writing 2. Writing 2. Wonder what that means. I think I remember, and again, I was distracted with work, so forgive me if you guys did watch some of the other, like maybe Quill or somebody talking about this, and they explained it. I think I heard that there's some sort of like mastery of technologies as you go along, and I've seen that in other games before, and I'm trying to remember specifically. What's one of the games I've seen that in recently? I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I remember where you research the top level tech, and that allows you to go to the next tech if you want to, or you can stick around on that tech, and there's like a sub mastery underneath that tech that allows you to go a little bit deeper into that specific tech. So you have like choices and stuff like that. So I think that might be where that writing 2 is.
Pursue advancements in technology to serve the needs of our people. Breakthrough.
Don't really see what this is giving us. So just irrigation.
In irrigation further.
All right. So it gets us a garden, +3 food, +1 food for each adjacent coastal terrain, +1 food for each adjacent lake, +1 food for each river, navigable river specifically, and then +1 food for each adjacent wonder, antiquity, food, building. Wonder, antiquity, food, building. Don't know exactly what that means, but interesting.
Enhance our food.
+1 settlement limit. Allows standard land units to traverse coastal terrain. I think I can kind of see that underneath there. +1 settlement limit. I'm not sure if I like the way that sounds. Because I know other games have limits on how much you can settle, right? You can only settle like a couple cities, and then you can have like little outposts and stuff like that. And then maybe over time you get the ability to settle more cities. I've always liked the fact that Civ allowed you to just settle as much as you kind of wanted to. I'm not saying this is game breaking for me. I mean, it's fine. I can work within it, and I've worked within it within other games. But I'm not sure if I just immediately like that concept of settlement limits.
Production.
And then +1 food on fishing boats. Oh, this is from sailing. Okay. Oh, that's what we were seeing. We were seeing like a double. Like they were hovering over sailing and the other one on the same tile. And they were showing us two different technology bonuses. +1 food on fishing boats. Okay, I mean, that's basic.
Unlocks our ability to traverse the nearby waters. It is now possible to journey further and expand our empire.
Yeah, very cool. I love the fish schools.
Our scout travels along a navigable river. Very
cool.
Their tenacity is rewarded.
Ooh, look, that's beautiful.
With the discovery of a breathtaking series.
Oh, I love the rainbow effect. Oh, that is really cool.
This natural wonder of the world.
We got a settler down here. Anything else we see immediately? I mean, obviously tech and culture. So tech and culture is still going to be in the game. Science and culture. Above that, I'm sorry, behind the title, I can't get that go away without unpausing. We've got happiness. We've got, I'm sorry, that's gold. I don't know what the middle one is. I think I see beakers. A musical note, so some sort of culture. Happiness. Oh, are we going to go back to the world of global happiness? Because this looks like a happy face with a +4, which gives me back to what, Civ 4? Did Civ 5 have that too, right? I mean, so global happiness versus city's happiness, that might be a thing. And then, yep, there is a limit here, 1 of 4. And it looks like a little building icon. And I apologize if it's really small font or really small to see and hard to see behind that text there. But I see a 1 of 4 building thing there, which does lead me to believe that there is a limit on how many settlements you can put down. I mean, it will keep the AI in check, I suppose. But I don't know. I can learn to live with it. I'm not sure if I'm immediately happy about having limits, but I can learn to live with it for sure. I just don't know what this middle one is. Again, we got gold and we've got something gray, some sort of gray coin. I don't know what that is. Yeah.
Attracts the imagination of our people, and brave settlers begin the long trek to claim new land for the Egyptian Empire.
Yeah, okay. We saw some resources on that part of the map, which is cool.
A new town is established near the majestic falls.
Yeah.
A town starts from humble beginnings and is initially used to gather nearby resources. Perhaps in the future, this town will grow large enough to specialize and gain its own identity as a city.
Okay, so it's just a settlement right now. It's not even a city yet. What does that mean? I mean, I know what it means in other games. Okay.
Our expansion does not go unnoticed.
Oh, look at those. What is that? Silk? Like silkworms? Maybe? We got, I don't think those are grapes. What are those like? Yeah, the trees are not the right shape for grapes. The grapes don't grow on trees. I'm a dummy. Ignore me. Sorry. I had to process through my own thought for a second there, and I'm like, wait a minute. Of course those aren't grapes. Grapes don't grow on trees. I don't know what those are. Anyway, and then we got some sort of mineral, maybe iron or silver, maybe over here on the right, it looks like.
A foreign scout is spotted, revealing the existence of a nearby...
Okay, so barbarian encampment, I'm guessing? Or no, maybe it's just a city-state? Yeah, okay, so this is an independent city-state. And we can befriend the city-state, or we can incite a raid. Okay. And kind of going back to the top screen here, I mean, they're making a lot of gold, 112 gold per turn. Whatever this other currency of some sort is. There's the beakers, there's the science, there's 42 happiness. Again, I don't know what that means specifically. And then 8 of 15 on the settlements. Okay, well, if the settlement limit can go up that much, then maybe I'm less concerned about a limited settlement limit. Limited settlement, yeah, okay. 8 of 15, I mean, that's much better. I mean, okay. I feel a little bit more better about that.
Initial hostilities are tempered over time as friendly relations begin to form. And peace does not dampen our ambitions. Our people strive forth to create great wonders the world has never seen before.
It's pretty cool. It's new wonders. That's gonna be good.
As we can.
Oh, what are they doing there? Some sort of quarry, maybe? There's that silk that I saw earlier. Very cool.
Continue to expand and explore the continent. We
Maybe
encounter
clay
new
over here?
civilizations. They are eager to engage in a barter.
Ashoka, world renouncer, leader of the Marian civilization. Okay. Military infiltration. Oh, so there's like a little bit kind of like a spying kind of component here, maybe. Something like that.
Of ideas and goods. Trade routes are established, providing mutual access to each empire's resources. But our rapid growth does not go unnoticed. Our
Come break your swords on our walls. Continue open war detail. Okay.
neighbors' ambitions rival our own, setting us on a collision course. War is no longer avoidable.
Spoiler alert, Egypt and Rome in Civ 7. Pretty sure we all knew that was going to happen.
Great army is raised, led.
All right, so we got soldiers moving in unison here. I'm going to see if they're going to talk about this in a minute, but it's not what it looks like. It sort of is what it looked like, but at the same time, it's not. We are not going to get death stacks again. That is not how the game works. They are still individual units, but there is an ability to move them in unison just to help with micromanagement, is my understanding.
By formidable commanders.
And the commanders.
Spur our forces quickly across the land. Spears and arrows make way.
So we see a bunch of soldiers fighting in unison right now. My understanding is that it's just like animation effects, essentially. They are not, there's not like actively going on stuff like that. It's just kind of like a continuation of the animation just to kind of give a little more depth to it. At least that's how I heard it. As far as commanders, my understanding is commanders are similar to generals today, where they give a bonus to the units around them. But really, your entire military is going to be centered around these commanders, and the commanders are going to be kind of, if you can take all your units and place them inside a commander unit, and help move them across a large amounts of space at once. But then once you get ready for war, you have to like spread back out to one unit per tile again, and effectively you're going to war one at a time. There is also technically a way for a commander to, like, let's say you have 3 archers in your little army. You can have, instead of just having to individually micro all 3 of those archers to hit one unit, if they're all going to hit all the same unit anyway, you can literally just, there's a button on the commander that allows you to just have all range units attack the same target. And it's just a micromanagement kind of ease there. Not really anything. Effectively, all 3 of the archers are taking individual turns. They're just doing it at the same time because of the commander's presence.
For iron swords and armor. The battles are.
I mean, these battles look very cool. I don't know how this is actually going to play out. Oh my goodness, we got like burnt down city stuff over here. This is, I mean, I guess these are pillaged tiles. The pillaged tiles look really cool. But again, I don't know exactly how this is going to play out in the context of obviously a turn-based game, but the animation effects look really, really cool.
Fierce. We emerge victorious.
We captured the district. Was that just like the capital district? Or was it the last district? Looked like the capital district was up there to the north. Actually, let me back up a second. Because it looks like the capital's there at Roma. But if I look at it, all the districts are currently like pillaged and destroyed except for this one. So maybe even though this is like the city center, this is the cap, this is like the last tile or something. Or maybe, oh, you know what it might be? This might be the city center and the text is just, the title is just hovered above higher than I'm used to. That might just be, it might be pointing to this tile itself. So maybe that is the city center, which would make the most sense.
We emerge victorious. But the challenges of this age have shaken our mighty Egyptian empire to its core. The world changes. We feel the pages of history turn as the age of antiquity comes to a close.
So there's ages. Again, kind of like what I talked about earlier on about the whole having to change our identity every time there's an age change. Yeah, Yeah, I don't know. I mean, take me into the story they just developed. Like, we just took out Rome. I'm feeling good about things. We want to rebuild from the battle because obviously we took some losses ourselves. They probably pillaged some of our tiles. We got to rebuild back up, and then we got to figure out what we're going to do next. You know, we've got new lands that we conquered from them, and we got to kind of figure out what we got to do next. And then suddenly the age changes and you're a different nation. Again, I'm still. They're going to have to convince me that this is a good way to go for it, and I'm going to be convinced by actually playing the game. But in my immediate gut reaction is still, I don't like it.
Close. A new age of human advancement.
But I want to like it. I really want to like it.
The age of exploration.
All right, so going from the age of antiquity to the age of exploration already proves that there is a pretty big jump in these ages. And I do happen to know, I think they tell us a little bit later on, spoiler alert, there are 3 ages, which is very, I mean, it's a weird way to think about it. Like, 3 ages, that's it. Like today, even in Civ 6, there's, you know, what, 8 or 10 eras, right? All the way from the ancient era all the way to the, you know, modern future eras and stuff like that. Only 3 ages. That's interesting. Now, the good thing about that is it does feel like a good natural breakpoint of ancient era with, you know, bows and arrows and swords and cavalry and stuff like that. Cool. Exploration. Okay, we're finally starting to get on the ocean. We got some ships going out. We're starting to learn how to use gunpowder, things like that. Awesome. And then I think the last one's gonna be some sort of modern era or whatever they might call it. And that's gonna be where we bring into like computers and technology and airplanes and things like that. So I do think the divisions of the ages are pretty good. I could see them adding more ages in the future. Now, too many ages can be very clunky. And I think if you go look at Millennia has a lot of ages. And each of those ages feels like I was just in this age for like 5 minutes and then I'm on to the next age. And it just never felt like you really ever lived in the age. And I think this is going to let you live within an age much better. And I do like that. If they're going to do the ages, I think this is the right way to do it. Limit the number of ages and let you actually experience the age, as opposed to just breezing right through it. And basically, you know, it becomes like an afterthought. I mean, when you're like, oh wait, was I just in an age? I think that was just an age I was just in. I blinked and I didn't even think about it. And so I think this is a better way to do it. And I'll give them some credit there at least.
A new age brings.
All right, so we've got legacies. Okay, wait a minute. Advanced start. Okay, so later on, I believe Ed Beach or somebody mentions that each age could actually be played completely independently as an entire game. Like if you only want to play the ancient era, you can play the ancient era. If you only want to play the age of just exploration or whatever they called it, you can just play that. Or you can play all 3 ages as a full epic campaign, so to speak. And so I think what we're seeing here, just because it's called Advanced Start, this might be them zeroing in on the exploration age and just starting as an exploration age. Or this might just be the screen that transitions. Advanced Start thing is just kind of throwing me off a little bit here. And now it does say work in progress, subject to change. So maybe they're using the same title screen for both at the moment, and maybe someday that will change. Add legacies or select a preset to plan your civilization in this age. So there will be presets. That's cool. There's a way to filter these based off of different, I guess, goals, maybe. I mean, I know this beaker one's science, the musical notes is culture. I'm assuming the shield is warfare. We got gold. I don't know what the first one is. Maybe building, which it makes sense because you've got gain 1 city to place, gain 1 town to place, gain 1 wildcard attribute point. So those are all building attributes. We've got walls, gain 3 ancient walls in all settlements. So walls are different. I heard that walls are basically something you place in one of those 2 district tile slots. And the more walls you have built around your city, the harder it is to take the city as a whole. So they're definitely a little bit different mechanic. I'm sure we'll learn a lot more about those later. Gain an army consisting of 2 infantry units. Interesting. Gain an army consisting of 2 range. Gain an army consisting of 4 cavalry. Oh, wow. And obviously there's a limited number of points here, right? Because obviously this one's worth 2 points. This one's worth 1 and 1. So if we were to take the cavalry one, yeah, it's worth 4 cavalry, but that's using up 2 of our points. So I can see that at least. Economic civic. Gain the piety civic. Gain 1,000 gold. Just some free gold. Okay. Gain 3 population in your capital. All right. Interesting. Gain the cartography technology for free. Gain the machinery technology for free. Gain the astronomy technology for free. Okay. So interesting. So we do get legacies to pick from.
Forth new challenges. and new opportunities, new technologies to research, new resources to acquire, new lands to explore.
Now, I could be very wrong about this, but I thought I heard them say at some point that as you advance to the ages, the map actually expands, so there's more to see. I could be way wrong. Maybe that's just me wishful thinking, hopeful. I don't know, because that would be very cool. Is if I start on this little tiny landmass, ancient era, we're battling it out, whatever, and then suddenly I get access to these ships in the exploration age, and my map goes from this big to suddenly twice as big or something like that. And then maybe we get to the modern era, it gets even bigger. That would be really cool. But I don't know for sure if that's what they said. But it does sound like when they said new lands to explore, it kind of leans towards that direction, right? And obviously new resources, stuff like that. That's pretty normal for advancing through technology. You get more resources along the way. So we got the Songhai here, and we've got, and by the way, if you want to watch this whole video paused, I highly recommend it. I'm going to be pausing a lot. Age unlocks Bagunda in the modern age. Okay. Play as Axum, play as Egypt, play as Amina. I'm not sure if I understand what that's telling us. Exploration age, a new culture emerges. Economic and militaristic. Okay. Tariq al-Sudan. Plus 15 trade route range to cities on navigable rivers, and your trade ships cannot be plundered on navigable rivers. So obviously sticking to the navigable rivers. I do happen to know that that Songhai is one of the options for Egypt. I think the options are limited, is what I understood it as. So it's not like you go into Egypt and then suddenly you go to a new age and suddenly you have 12, civilizations to choose from, like in Humankind. And they just feel like it doesn't there's no correlation there. I think there is direct correlation. If you're Egypt, Songhai is always going to be one of your options, and there's going to be like a couple other options based on other things that you do, I think. Plus 30% production towards constructing the Tomb of Askia, which again sounds like another wonder. So I guess each civilization gets a bonus production towards a specific wonder, but does that mean other civilizations can also build that wonder? Or does that mean this civilization is the only one that can build it? We just build it quickly. But if that's the case, if we're the only civilization that can build it, and we just get plus 30% production towards it, well, they could have just reduced the production by 30% and it would have made no difference. I'm assuming this is a wonder that anybody could build. We just have a head start on it, effectively. Gold Bangles Infantry. Songhai unique infantry unit, plus 5 combat strength on resource tiles. It's going to be interesting to position. Actually not, I'll reserve judgment, but it feels like that's not that strong. It's very limited, right? Like, what if the unit you want to attack isn't on a resource tile, then you just don't get any bonus. Plus 100% gold from pillaging trade routes. Okay, that's pretty cool. Tajiro. Songhai unique merchant. That's pretty cool. Unique merchants. Civilian who can establish a trade route to import resources from foreign settlement. When you create a trade route, receive 100 gold if this is a trade route with at least one navigable river. Again, going back to the navigable rivers. Very, very huge point, apparently, in this version of the game for sure. And then we got the Caravanserai. Plus 5 gold. Gold adjacency for navigable rivers and resources. Songhai unique improvement. Ageless. Again, another ageless one. Does not remove warehouse bonuses on a tile. Must be built on desert or plains. Okay.
We are to take on the challenges of this new age. We must adapt and select a new civilization to represent our empire. One.
Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I get it. All right, so I think if I understand correctly, the way that we're going to gain identity in this version of Civilization, even though the civilization itself is going to change, our leader is ageless. Our leader persists through the entirety of the game. So if we start as Hatshepsut here, I guess, is that her? Yeah, that's her. So if we start as her, that means we came from Egypt, right? She's the leader of Egypt, and then she'll become the leader of Songhai, and then whatever comes after that, which I guess is probably Bagunda or something like that. I'm assuming that this is I want to jump into the exploration age screen, similar to what I talked about earlier, and there's 3 ways to get to Songhai. You can either play as Axum, you can play as Egypt, or you can play as Amina, and what that means is that's the source civilization you came from to become Songhai. So it seems like there's multiple civilizations that become Songhai, but Egypt definitely has a path to Songhai, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Adapt and select a new civilization.
I could be wrong. This could just be a test screen because, you know, they have a way for like their QA testers and stuff like that to kind of speed into something. It might not even be something that's we're ever going to see. But obviously we talked about her. She's going to be the leader of this new empire. But yeah, interesting.
Empire.
And it says continue
One that is
game.
better equipped to take on the challenges of the exploration age.
How disconnected is that going to feel? Like, is it still going to feel a continuation of the original game where, okay, I've selected my new civilization, I'm continuing as Songhai, and all my cities are still where they were, all my improvements are still where they were, and it's just, maybe the map just got bigger or something like that? Or is there going to be, I hope not. I hope there's not going to be some sort of like diversion to some like completely different looking map once you get past that screen, because that would just be really jarring and not fun. But my goodness, the verticality here is awesome. This is a very cool image with the way this elevates. Okay, I'm really happy with that.
This new civilization builds on top of its past legacy.
Okay, so it builds on top of its past
Our
legacy.
actions in this age will inevitably influence a future yet to come.
All right, so we do we have the pyramids over here, right? And then we've got some I'm assuming these are kind of more Songhai kind of esque architecture. And I guess we see spatterings of maybe Egyptian architecture along the way. I don't know. I actually don't know because I feel like these might be Egyptian architecture, right? Maybe it's hard to tell. And then maybe the Songhai stuff just builds on top of it. I don't know. Maybe I'm speculating the wrong direction here, but it does look cool. So we got local festival. So this is again Ashoka. We've seen him before. So I'm glad to see that he exists. In other words, like, if we were friends with Ashoka in the ancient era, then we'll be friends with him in the exploration era. He's still the same person. Or if we're enemies, vice versa, that's that same type of thing. We could support him. +3 per turn in cities for both leaders. Okay, 3 happiness. +2 something per turn. Again, I don't know what that is. Oh, whatever that currency is the currency we use to select these things. Because I can see here 60 of that grayish currency to be able to select the support. 0 to select this one, but we gain whatever that grayish currency is, and then we can reject it and we spend 20 for that.
So too do our neighbors. The stage
Maybe some sort of diplomatic currency.
is set. A new age begins.
New age
Will you
begins.
follow a path set by history? Or will you pivot and forge something anew? What kind of empire?
So there's the walls. So they've built walls around, looks like 3 of these tiles. Now there are some tiles, it looks like, outside of those wall tiles, but those walls are cohesive, which is very cool looking. But definitely not around the entirety of the city.
Will you make? What strategies will you pursue?
Okay, so it's an independent. All right.
The future is yours to create. In Sid Meier's Civilization 7.
All right, that was a lot. And now we're about to go into some more detail. We're only halfway through this video. I'm pausing a lot, guys. I hope it's okay.
The journey of Hatshepsut, brought to life by our wonderful new narrator, Gwendolyn Christie, is just one potential path you can take in Civilization 7. This is made possible by our biggest new feature, Ages. Ages are inspired by a transformational idea for Civ, that history is built in layers.
I mean, we're obviously got the same kind of a rocketry district of some sort here. Very cool. Maybe this is a factory, power plant, something like that. And like I love that down the hill, you've got the ocean and stuff. Like, this is very visually up on a hill. That is, I really enjoy that part. That is really cool.
This idea is a way of understanding how civilizations have grown, changed, and evolved over time.
Think of the first civilizations of the world as creating an initial foundation. As a civilization grows, new layers are added to that foundation in the form of things like technologies, schools of thought, and cultural norms. At some point, civilizations, faced with a crisis that defines their time, must evolve. When that happens, these
So we got a government, there's policies, and there's a crisis. So the age begins, the crisis begins, the crisis intensifies, the crisis culminates, and I'm assuming the age ends. Wow. Wow. +1 happiness on altars, +10 gold on altars. Gain 2 migrants when a city is infected, but -25% growth in cities. Prosecute apostates. You must select a crisis policy. So these are the crisis policies. Oh, -10 gold on altars, sorry. So these are like combination good and bad type of things. And I'm assuming maybe they get worse as time progresses, maybe. Interesting.
Past layers don't disappear. Instead, they now serve as a new foundation for the new civilization. As the cycle repeats, connecting the past, present, and future together.
Instead of playing as one single civilization across every age, you'll evolve your empire into a new civilization for each new age. One that is suited to take on the historical challenges of that time.
Okay, so that makes sense, right? And they're starting to win me over a little bit with this idea. First off, there's only going to be 3 civilizations, right? Will be like Egypt, you know, Songhai, and then, I don't know, something in modern France or something. I don't know. That's probably not realistic because of the direction. I think whatever they said on the right side there, I forget what the name of the civilization they mentioned was. But, so, you know, it's not like you're going to be playing like 6 or 7 different civilizations. You are going to be playing limited to 3 because there's 3 ages. I do understand the idea, though, of ancient era means they could balance all of the civilizations in the ancient era around ancient technologies. So you're going to have your Egypt, you're going to have your Romes, you're going to have your Greeces, you're going to have, you know, whatever. And you don't have to worry about the fact that England, I mean, just doesn't exist in the ancient era. And so therefore, if you had England in the ancient era, well, they're just weak. They're weak and puny in the ancient era until they get some of their units and some of their technologies later on, right? So go look at Civ 6. There are very explicitly civilizations that are very strong in early game, and the rest of the civilizations are just kind of hanging on for dear life, waiting for their chance. And then late game, those civilizations that held on, those are the strong ones. And like your ancient eras, unless they were able to expand aggressively early on, they're going to start to diminish. And so, whereas in this version, the way they're doing it here is, yeah, ancient Egypt is going to diminish because ancient Egypt no longer exists. It's not technologically advanced for the exploration era. And then you get into the exploration era, and it's going to be something new that they can balance around that. So I get that mindset. Again, if anybody can get this right, Civ can.
Every age is designed to be like a historical sandbox, as a way to really immerse yourself in that time. Almost everything inside an age is
oh wait, go back for a second. I mean, you can even see the buildings.
As a way to really immerse yourself in that time.
I mean, this is obviously very kind of, it's more modern looking, right? Like it's definitely cool looking, like the little barns and, you know, farmsteads and stuff like that. It's very cool.
Almost everything inside an age is exclusive to that age.
Okay.
That includes things like which technologies and civics you can research, what resources are available to be gained, which independent powers surround you, to even things like gameplay systems and civilizations, all unique to that age.
Having unique civs for each age is something we're really excited about. In the past, every civ needed to be balanced across a game that spans all of history.
Yeah.
This naturally resulted in things like late era civs being strong in the late game, but weak early on. Now, we can balance around the age itself. This means we can give every civ bonuses, units, and buildings that are always relevant and powerful. Having exclusive civs per age is also great for historical immersion. Every age feels like an epic showdown of some of the great powers of that time.
We'll have 3 ages for you to play. The Antiquity Age.
Antiquity.
When agricultural societies begin to cluster into urban centers, forming the foundations of the first civilizations. The Exploration Age. When the desire for precious commodities from distant lands spurs empires to stretch across great oceans. And the Modern Age, a period of incredible technological growth and global.
I mean, this is definitely very cool modern. I love the trains over here and stuff like that. Although, I'm assuming if the train is going to look like that, there's no actual railroad that connects cities anymore, which, you know, I always like the railroads. Those were cool. The one thing I will say, in addition to the in support, to kind of play devil's advocate here for the age thing, is that it will make the AI more competitive just by nature, right? Because today, let's say I'm playing a game as I don't know. I guess, you know, United States. United States does not become strong until late game, right? They get their fighters, I mean, and they get some other aspects, right? In Civ 6, for example. And let's say I'm playing alongside Montezuma. Montezuma is very much ancient era. Well, if I can weather the storm of Montezuma's ancient era, well, then I know by the time I get into the modern era, I'm going to just be able to walk all over him. I'm going to stomp all over him, unless he was able to expand a lot and just got really strong, obviously. But whereas in this, the way they're going to do it here is every new era, the other civilizations in that era are going to be just as strong as I am, right? I'm not going to suddenly become way powerful because I got some new unique unit that nobody else has. Like, if I got exploration ships, then other civilizations have exploration ships, things like that. So it is going to help balance the AI a little bit around the idea that they are going to be just as strong as you are in each age, because presumably all the civilizations are relatively balanced in each age.
Conflict, where mankind goes from the development of the steam engine to the splitting of the atom. Every age can be played on its own or woven together into a full campaign.
That's cool. I wonder what the timing's going to be, though. What's it going to feel like? What's the pacing going to feel like? I wonder.
In past games, civs and leaders were always tied together and came as a package deal of agendas, abilities, units, and more. With civs being exclusive to ages, we're excited to introduce a new innovation for leaders. For the first time in franchise history, leaders are now selected independently from civilizations.
Okay, so leaders, okay. I was working today, so I kind of was listening in the background. Leaders are completely independent from civilizations. That means if I'm going to play, you know, Hatshepsut, and I can't say her name. Let's Cleopatra. Let's say that Cleopatra's in the game. I could say her name. Let's say Cleopatra's in the game. If I want to play as Cleopatra, I could be Cleopatra of the ancient Roman Empire. Actually, that one might actually make a little bit of sense. Ancient Greek Empire. I don't like it explicitly. I really like the leaders tied to the civilizations, I'm going to be honest. But I'm trying to decide if it's a game, like if it's like something that's going to ruin it for me. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one for me.
You can now mix and match unique parts of different civs and leaders, unlocking all new strategic combinations, staying true to Civ's spirit of experimentation. For players who want to stick to more historical pairings, a useful indicator will appear on the Civ selection.
That's fair.
We're also taking the opportunity to expand who we consider to be a leader in Civilization 7.
And I think I heard, maybe it was Quill said this, that he suspects that AI civilizations will still effectively stick with historically accurate leaders. It might not be true. I think he was just speculating, but I could see that being a thing. And that means that if you want to stick with semi-historically accurate leaders, you can choose that and therefore not ruin that immersion, I guess. Although, again, if you're changing civilizations as you go through the ages, you know, immersion's kind of already lost. Not to mention the fact that your leaders are living thousands of years anyway. So
we'll continue to have traditional heads of state, such as Hatshepsut, but we're also excited to have new leaders in areas such as philosophy, religion, science, and more.
Having leaders stay the same across ages helps bring a sense of who you're playing against in Civilization 7. It also gives you the opportunity to keep the theme of evolution going. As your empire evolves from one age to the next.
So I'm a leader. I have an identity. Again, going back to what I said earlier, like the very beginning, when I was having my rant about changing civilizations, I was obviously worried about losing identity. And if my identity is now not tied to a civilization, but my identity is a leader, I am Benjamin Franklin. And Benjamin Franklin has bonuses. And those bonuses are going to apply to these civilizations as they progress. Could be okay. Again, I'm a little hesitant to be super happy about it, but I think they can make it work. And I'm willing to kind of give it a chance here, obviously. Leader attributes. Oh, I forgot about this. Yes. So leaders are going to have like attributes that you build out over time with all these different areas. And it's going to really specialize your leader over time to become what you want it to be. You want it to be scientific. You want it to be militaristic. Okay, yeah. Okay. I remember this. This is
It's important that your
better.
leader grows as well. All leaders now have attributes that can further specialize their skills. These attributes can be gained in a variety of ways, from completing narrative events to rewards for researching certain technologies and civics.
So here's the tech tree, and here's where they were talking about. I was talking about those masteries that I saw. So yeah, if you develop cartography, presumably once you develop cartography, you can move on to feudalism or guilds, or you also have the opportunity to master cartography, which makes sense.
Overall, leaders are getting a huge upgrade. They're more powerful, more varied, and more strategically interesting than ever. We cannot wait for you to discover your new favorite leader in Civilization 7.
So again, I mean, it's going to go through the idea of your identity is your leader. Your identity is, I mean, that's the mantra I'm going to be repeating over and over again. It does allow them to really blow up the number of leaders that are possible, right? They can just get leaders from all over the place. And that's going to just change how the game feels, no matter which civilization you're playing as. And obviously the combination of leader and civilization is what truly makes the game unique for that playthrough, right? If I'm Benjamin Franklin of ancient Egypt, I'm going to be playing differently than if I'm, Julius Caesar of ancient Egypt, So, I could see how it could be fun. I could see how it could work. We'll see. If you can't tell, I want to like this because I want to love Civ 7.
When one age ends and you begin an age transition, it is an incredibly exciting moment. You'll select a new civilization to represent your empire in the new age. You'll choose parts of your past civ to carry forward into the new one.
Cool. And
the game map literally expands, filled with...
Literally expands. So I thought I heard that before. Again, working, listening out of the corner of my ear. The game map literally expands. Okay. That is really cool. Let's dissect the fact that ages means a civilization change for a second. But let's say the ages means the map expands. Very cool. I really, really like that. That means I can kind of do my area, do my thing. Suddenly, new age of exploration. Boom, map is like twice as big, or whatever, 50% larger. And that, I think I like that a lot.
New independent powers to befriend, new resources to acquire, and new discoveries to be made.
During an age transition, there are a few factors that determine which civ you can evolve into. This includes any historical connections between your previous and future civ, your choice of leader, and even certain gameplay decisions that you made in the past age. Every civ plays differently.
Okay, so Egypt, for example, just can't become America. Now, maybe if Egypt was ran by Benjamin Franklin, maybe there's a choice to become America because of that specific reason. But just by default, Egypt cannot become, America someday because that just isn't historically, accurate. Okay, I get that. That's kind of cool.
Across your game, you might want to stay as true to history as possible.
Yeah.
Only selecting civs that have historical ties to each other.
So we have, because we're Egypt, we automatically get access to Songhai. Awesome. But we also get access to Mongolia if we have 3 horse resources. A little bit of a stretch, but okay. And then we also get access to a different exploration age civ based on our leader. So maybe for Benjamin Franklin, maybe this is, I don't know, exploration would be England, right? Great Britain would be in the exploration. Although I don't know if that exists, if they're going to put it alongside Songhai and Mongolia. That feels like that might be more modern. But maybe the English Empire explicitly, because that's obviously different from England itself to some degree. I don't know. We'll see. That'll be interesting to see.
Each other. Or you might switch to civs that fit your strategic needs.
There are so many possible paths to explore.
Buganda. I don't even know who Buganda is. I guess some sort of African nation. And then we've got other modern age civs based on just different choices, I guess.
So many different choices you can make.
Okay.
The potential for strategy in Civilization 7 is nearly endless.
Okay.
Something we hear often from players is about how when you play a game...
I just gotta say this. Wherever they're at, I don't know if this is related to Firaxis or if this is just some cool building in Baltimore, because I really don't know Baltimore at all. Very cool. Like, I want to go wherever they're at filming this. It is very cool to see. Like, all these ancient books and all these staircases. I don't know. It's a very cool looking building.
Game of Civ, you forget the world around you. Video games, more than any other medium, have this ability to completely immerse you in another universe. Whether it's through art, music, cinematic moments, or language, our goal is to bring your Civ world to life.
Getting the look and feel for Civilization 7 right is critical, so it's important to make sure we are capturing that through our art style. I spent a lot of time as a kid in museums, especially in the diorama sections, and being able to walk by and see these little miniatures that aren't moving, but there's a story told in them, was something that I always found intriguing. Technology changes every time we put one of these games out, and each time we put one out, we can do more. And we're at a spot in the industry now where we've just got a lot of tools and a lot of power under our belts to represent the entire world of Civilization.
I mean, visually, personally, love it. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was a big, jarring difference to go from Civ 5 to Civ 6. My gut instinct when I saw Civ 6 was, oh man, this is cartoony. This is a backwards direction for the franchise. Like, what are they doing? As I've played Civ 6 more, I've actually grown to really like Civ 6 and the graphical style. And this feels like an advancement of the Civ 6 graphical style. I wouldn't call it cartoony necessarily, but more, well, kind of like you said, dioramas, more like modeled and like little miniatures that are sitting on a map and things like that. I personally am really, really liking this graphical style. And again, I love the verticality of the landscape.
We're hoping that the players can look into this game, see the diametric detail on this, and tell their own stories that they've never told before. Everything is going to fit together in such a different way than it has in the past from Civilization, and I think it's going to give you a much more realistic version of the simulation that you're trying to create.
I mean, that's so amazing.
In the Civ 6 and learning from that, trying to open up some more spaces and everything. And we adjusted the tone from 6 a bit, and I think
got the Great Wall of China. That's cool.
Looking for, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun for them. It's something that nobody else is doing, and nobody but Firaxis can do.
Look, I am sorry. I don't want to pick on other games too much because I think I have a lot of respect for programmers that make other games. You know, they put their blood, sweat, and tears into it. You know, they spent time away from their families to make it. They have pride in it. Great. And I think like a game like Millennia, for example, which is one of the newest 4X type games, Civilization type games, the Civ Killer. It's not the Civ Killer. You know, I think the people that made it, they have some pride in what they did, and I think there's definitely some good aspects of even that game, even if I don't personally like it as a whole. But artistically, I mean, go look at the unit fighting in Millennia. They made a decision. They made a conscious decision of how they wanted units to fight in that game, and it feels very much not modern technology. And compared to this is just absolute next level. I mean, this is I mean, these buildings are 3D modeled, like, right? Like completely 3D modeled here. I'm assuming we could spin around this, go up and go down, like see it from different angles. This is just a next level of graphical just awesomeness.
I think players will love how combat looks. We greatly expanded the variety of units in Civ 7. Units now constantly engage one another.
Very cool.
You'll see and hear the clashing of swords and steel.
That's very cool.
Units have a higher level of fidelity than ever before. Everything from the little parts and pieces and details on the armor set.
Yeah.
To the entire representation of a whole army on a battlefield. I feel like this is going to become your Civ. Like this is the one. It has the look.
Firaxis takes its representation of different cultures in Civ 7 very seriously. Language is a critical part of Civilization. It's how people tell their story. This is important because we are trying to teach through this game, and it's important to our players. They want to see their cultures represented correctly. In many cases, some players have never seen their cultures represented anywhere else. It brings great pride and joy to be able to see themselves included in the history of the world.
Music also plays an important role in bringing out the spirit and essence of each civilization. Every Civ has its own theme, and we're excited to share that Chris Tin, who composed the Grammy Award-winning theme Baba Yetu for Civilization 4 and the main theme for Civilization 6, is returning for Civilization 7, and we cannot wait for you to hear it.
Very cool. That's going to be awesome. I did want to touch on something that they're talking about. You know, I love history. I love geography. I love different cultures. I mean, I think our world as a whole is a beautiful place. And I think it is so awesome to see the different ways that technology and cultures and buildings have changed. I think I've talked about this with my Farming Simulator series recently. Like, we all got to eat, right? And let's say, you know, here in the United States, we can grow rice. But the way we grow rice and the way we harvest rice and the way we even eat rice is completely different from the way, you know, if you see go see how they grow rice, harvest rice, eat rice in China. Same root kind of base, maybe not the exact same, you know, there might be some genetic difference between the actual grains there, the actual plant, but effectively the same thing. And each side of that world has developed a new way, a different way of dealing with that particular, you know, need or whatever. And then, I mean, that's just from a food standpoint. Again, that's just tying that back to the Farming Simulator stuff that I was talking about recently. But, you know, just culture and art and architecture and music. I mean, I love it all. And I'm really happy that Civilization has made an effort to show us things that I didn't even know existed before. I mean, when they came out with the, who was it? The Civ 6 Empire that has the little temples that are like buried into the ground. Oh, I don't remember. I just played them not that long ago. I actually had to go look that up online and learn about that because I'm like, that is such a weird, fascinating thing. I didn't know that existed. Let me go learn about that. And I've always loved that. Look, Civilization is not historically accurate, but what Civilization does do, it gets me thinking about the historically accurate history that it's based on. And I think that's something they've always done well, something I've always enjoyed about it. And it does look like they're going to continue that, which is really cool.
Today represents just an initial look at what's to come in Civilization 7. We have so much more to share, from gameplay deep dives to first looks at new leaders and civilizations, to what you can expect from Civ 7 post-launch.
Sid Meier's Civilization 7 releases on February 11th, 2025, and is available to pre-order today.
6 months, guys. Less than 6 months.
Civilization 7 will receive the Tecumseh Shawnee Pack.
Cool.
And if you haven't already, be sure to create a 2K account and sign up for our Civ newsletter to receive the latest updates. Doing so will unlock the exclusive Emperor persona for Napoleon in Civilization 7. And as a special thank you, if you use that same 2K account to play Civ 6, you'll automatically unlock Napoleon's revolutionary persona in Civ 7. Check out our website at civilization.com for full details, and be sure to follow Civ for all the latest.
We hope you enjoyed this first look at Civilization 7. The entire team at Firaxis has been working very hard to make sure we deliver a game that gives you more reasons to take just one more turn.
As we welcome Civ 7 into the Civ family, I think back to the legacy of Civilization, of 30 years of development, refinement, iteration, exploration, of the millions of players that have contributed, of the billions of hours that have been played. I'm so proud to be here for this moment, welcoming Civ 7 into the family. February 11th, 2025 isn't too far away. We're excited to be taking this journey with you.
Very cool. Yeah, no, I'm still excited. I mean, I have some concerns about some of the directions they're taking, but I'm sure I would have had the same concerns if I went back in time and asked myself if I was happy with hexes or if I was happy with, you know, I don't know, any other number of changes they've made over the years. And I think they've always found a way to make it work. Say what you will about, you know, like the Beyond Earth series and things like that. Maybe not that great, but Civilization has almost always just been top notch and something that I have spent a very significant amount of my time, of my life. If you added up all the thousands upon thousands of hours I have played, all the different civilizations over the years, it's a big chunk of my life, and it's going to continue to be a big chunk of my life, because obviously Civ 7 is going to be a big part of the channel when it comes out. So I'm excited. I'm still very, very excited. I have reservations and concerns, but I'm also ultimately just extremely excited for Civ 7, and I think it is going to be a lot of fun. Just going to take some getting used to, maybe a little bit of a change. Which, you know, look, if it was just Civ 6 with a new skin on it, would I really enjoy it? No, of course not. I mean, I don't want Civ 6 again. I don't want Civ 5 again. I don't want any number of Civs. I don't care. I don't want old Civ again. I can just go play old Civ again if I want to play old Civ. Insert Civ X, you know, whatever it might be. So Civ 7 needed to be something new, different, game-changing for it to be worthwhile of being part of the series. Does that mean, like, I might play Civ 7 for a while and you're like, you know what? Man, I really miss, like, the real old school districts of Civ 6. Or, man, I really miss the death stacks of Civ 4 or whatever it may be. They still exist. You can still go play those. They're still there. There's nothing wrong with them. And it's okay for Civ 7 to be different. And so I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate here because I am a little bit, you know, nervous. But again, I trust the Sid Meier's team, or I guess the Firaxis team, I should say. I mean, if Sid Meier's putting his name on, I trust that he knows what, you know, what looks good, right? I mean, I trusted, it's got his name on it for a reason, obviously. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys are as well. Just out of curiosity. Let me see. Give me 1 second. All right. So I wanted to go look up the pre-order stuff. So they got the base version is $70. Oh my goodness. When did AAA games become $70 just by default? That's insane. The deluxe version is $100, and then the Founders Edition is $130. Whew. I mean, look, I love Civilization. I mean, when Civ 5 or Civ 6 came out, I bought the collector's edition of that. It's literally sitting back there in a box. I don't know if you can see. Can you see it down there? I think that's, yeah, to the right of my World of Warcraft collector's editions. I have 3 World of Warcraft collector's editions that I've gotten over the years, and then to the right of that is my Civ 6 collector's edition box. So I love Civilization. I bought the Civ 6 t-shirt. I mean, I've always loved Civilization. And so, yeah, I mean, I know I'm buying the Founders Edition. I'm paying $130 for it. They could have made it $200. I don't care. I would have paid it. Don't change it for Access, please, just because I would. But I can understand why that would be unapproachable for a lot of people. Honestly, even $70 is extremely expensive for a lot of people. So there might be a lot of people who will wait until it goes on sale, which is pretty normal for a lot of Civilization games. They do tend to go on sale after a period of time. And obviously a lot of new people come into the game at those times. So nothing wrong with that. But I will be playing it day one as soon as I'm able to. I will be buying the Founders Edition. Absolutely. Unless they come out with a Collector's Edition, which I don't see any evidence of that. And I'm looking forward to it. I really am. Again, I have reservations, but I think those reservations will be proven out to be okay as time progresses. So I apologize for the extremely long video, but hey, if I can do a 20-minute deep dive of a 3-minute, you know, intro video for a Civilization, then surely you'll forgive me for going an hour and 20 minutes on a 25-minute long video here. There's a lot here, and I actually skipped over a lot. There's a lot of little screens that I kind of saw that I was like, you know what, I could pause and talk about that, but I'm sure they'll do a deep dive on that specific thing in the future, and I'll talk about it then. So there were a few things that I did kind of just skip over a little bit, gloss over a little bit, that I'm hoping we'll just get deep dives on as those come out naturally over time. But there you go, guys. My first impression of Civ 7, absolutely looking forward to it. Absolutely plan on buying it. I mean, I personally am somebody who, since I'm already going to buy it anyway, I do pre-order things. I don't mind pre-orders. I know a lot of people are like, oh, never pre-order. I am personally not one of those people. I have a lot of respect for developers and programmers, and I know that most of the money for pre-orders probably doesn't go to them directly, but I have to think that if nobody pre-ordered it, it probably does affect their lives. That's the way I look at it. If nobody pre-ordered Civilization 7, then no matter how good they think it might be on launch day, people at Firaxis are getting fired. Plain and simple. People that had, you know, wives and children and whatever, they're getting fired. If a bunch of people pre-order Civilization 7, then yeah, are the guys at the top lining their pockets? Sure. But in lining their pockets, they're also going to keep on those people. They're not going to fire a bunch of people just because they think that sales are going to look bad. So personally, you do what you want to do. Do not take my advice as what you have to do. But I personally am always in favor of pre-ordering something that I definitely plan on playing anyway. And I definitely plan on playing Civ 7, so I will absolutely be pre-ordering this game. I think it deserves that. And there we go, guys. That's it. Obviously, more to come as they introduce more and more stuff. I can't always promise that I will be able to get the reactions same day or, you know, whatever, because I do have a day job. But as I'm able to, I will get these reactions up as soon as possible, and hopefully you guys can enjoy those. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about, you know, Civ 7, about the features, about whatever. I mean, feel free to make it a book. I don't care. I'll read it. I'll read your comments. And we'll have some fun talking over Civ 7 as it continues to develop and continues to show us things. And we'll have some good communication here, I think, about the features and what we like, what we don't like, what we're hopeful for, things like that. But I do appreciate you guys watching. If you do like these types of videos, like these first impression videos and anything like this, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you know when these videos and more of these Civ 7 videos go live. And again, consider, like I said, commenting below. And I do have channel memberships turned on. If you want to help support the channel that way, please do not feel obligated. But it would help the channel out as well. But I do appreciate you guys watching. May God bless you, and I hope you join me again next time. Thank you, and goodbye. I wanted to give a special shout out to the following channel members. Thank you so much for supporting the channel.